Be sure to follow us on TikTok at MysticSage1 for daily anime content. The villains of the My Hero Academia world have made MHA a very dark place. The key villains in the story each have their own unique quirks, personalities, and backgrounds to them. Horikoshi really did a fantastic job on designing them as well. Their designs make them look really creepy and true to their natures. Today, I wanted to count down my top 5 favorite villains from My Hero Academia. There will also be manga spoilers in here, so you have been warned. Leading off this list of villains is none other than Jin Bubagawara, aka Twice. Twice's quirk is the ability to duplicate himself. With that said, he had a really horrible incident in the past due to his quirk, and thus developed dissociative identity disorder. He eventually discovered he was his original self though. Eventually, he met a man named Girin who introduced him to the League of Villains, and told him they were a group of people who were just like him, a criminal who felt out of place. Twice made his way into the League and made a name for himself and his quirk. Now, here's the thing, Twice may be a villain, but the dude's got a heart of gold. Throughout this series, all we really see Twice do is care for his friends. He does indeed do malicious deeds, but in the end, all he wants to do is be with his friends and cause havoc. The League gave him a place to belong. And with that said, we begin to understand more about Jin and the minds of other villains in the series. Twice gives off the persona that he is a person with feelings, and all he really wanted was to be noticed by people. The League filled that void, and for a while, Jin was really happy. However, I will say his feelings for Toga are a little creepy. Up next at number 4, we have All For One. Now, I understand that All For One is one of the biggest key villains in the entire story. However, to me, he isn't in my top 3. Though I will say, All For One is a real twisted son of a gun. Essentially, he is obsessed with power and will do whatever he can to get his hands on One For All. In fact, he has been power obsessed since the origin of One For All when he battled against his brother. Since then, he battled all the One For All users and failed every time, and eventually was defeated twice by All Might, but even then, still wasn't enough. Even with being imprisoned in Tartarus, that dude still had some kind of plan up his sleeve. I'm not gonna get into that plan because that would take a while for me to explain. Just know that Shigaraki plays a part in it, and All For One is trying to fully take over his body. I will say though, I want Tomura to prevail, because he deserves to. But All For One is persistent as hell. But that's also what makes me like him a lot as a villain. He is very deadly, and is the essence of a true villain, using people till the very end, and he keeps coming back for more. Coming into my top 3 is Himiko Toga. Now, if you guys are caught up on the manga, then you know more about Toga's backstory. That backstory is what made me put her into my top 3. Why, you ask? Because it's creepy, and that kind of creepiness is what I like. Basically, due to her quirk transformation, she was and has always been obsessed with blood. Essentially, she uses other people's blood to transform into them. When she was a little girl, she found a dead bird covered in blood and showed it to her parents with the bloodiest of smiles. Her parents obviously feared what society would view her as, so they subjected her to quirk reformation. However, because her quirk is blood-based, the obsession was a natural part of who she was. In middle school, she found a boy she loved named Saito. With this love infatuation, she drank his blood. With that said, she ran away from her middle school, and her parents cut all ties with her, saying she was a failure anyway. After she had begun her life as a criminal, she was then inspired by the ideologies of Stain, and thus joined the League of Villains. Though her intentions for following Stain were different than others, as she just wanted bloodlust and murder. Toga does have a compassionate side though, as seen with Jin. After Jin's death, she began to question the morale of heroes. She wonders to herself, where do they draw the line? If heroes are supposed to save people, then was Jin not considered a person? Will they kill me too? That's what I want to ask Izuku and Ochako. Depending on their answer, I'll be fine. She then lures Uraraka into a house, impersonating herself as a rescue victim. Toga then begins charging Ochako and comments that she loves others, but loves seeing them bleed out. She understands that society obviously does not like that idea, and knows that's the reason she is not accepted. Toga then picks up Ochako's All Might keychain that Deku had given her. Toga asks if it has sentimental value to her, in which Uraraka says yes. Toga mentions she cared about twice as well, and sees similar feelings with Uraraka and Deku, and thus guesses correctly to where she got the keychain from. Ochako retorts that she had to suppress those feelings. Toga responds that she had been suppressing her feelings since she was a child, and that only made them grow further. Uraraka then replies with, "If you choose to harm people, then you must also live with the consequences." Toga then responds with, "I thought so," as she begins to tear up. She then disappears shortly after leaving the All Might keychain on the ground. This part legit broke me, because she is heartbroken about Jin's death. This shows she has a heart, as she really cares for him. I'm not too sure, but I think Toga may have a change of heart as the series progresses. I could be wrong though, but I guess we will just have to wait and see. At the penultimate spot, we have the notorious hero killer Stain. Now, I understand there may be some of you that are going, "Come on, man. He's not a villain. He just wants a society with genuine heroes rather than fake ones that are in it for the money." Yes, you would be correct. But also remember, Stain murdered a handful of heroes. Killing people, no matter how you look at it, is criminal in some way, especially for a cause like Stain's. This, to me, considered him as a villain. I'm not gonna lie though, Stain made some fantastic points. There were a lot of heroes in the world of MHA that only cared about money and clout. The only hero he respected was All Might, and he even showed respect for Izuku Midoriya. He viewed these two individuals to be real heroes, as they just wanted to make society a better place. His entire ideals are based in purging society of fake heroes. Stain's entire ideology spread like wildfire across Japan, garnering many supporters. A well-known one is Spinner from the League of Villains. Outside of his ideologies though, he will save individuals who he deems worthy of being called heroes, and does not like killing without a proper reason. Deep down, he knows that what he is doing is wrong. However, he believes that society needs people like him. Stain also possesses a powerful quirk called Blood Curdle. This quirk allows him to bind his enemies once he has tasted their blood for a certain amount of time. Each blood type has a different duration. For example, type B allows him the longest control, following downwards to type AB, then A, and lastly type O blood for the shortest amount of time. The maximum amount of time Stain can hold them down though is for 8 minutes. But yeah, Stain's quirk and ideology stuck to me. That's why I had to put him at number 2. Even though inherently he's not a villain, he acts like one. He's an anti-hero if anything, but to me, he still is villainous. Finally, at number 1, we have Tomura Shigaraki, aka Tenko Shimura. Where do I even start with this crazy hand guy? In the manga, we learn about Shigi's past. It turns out he is Nana Shimura's grandson, and that she had ridded herself from her son, Kotaro. With that said, Kotaro began to resent his mother and anything hero-related, because he believed she left him for the sake of strangers. Kotaro then went on to have children, being Tenko and Hana. Anytime either of them showed interest in heroes, Kotaro would get super upset. After a harsh upbringing, Tenko then developed his quirk, Decay. With his quirk, he completely wiped out his entire family, leaving no trace behind. After he was alone for a while, he was encountered by All For One. All For One showed him the life of being a villain, and thus turned Tenko Shimura into Tomura Shigaraki. Shigaraki then forms the League of Villains for the sake of All For One, and begins devoting his life to him. Tomura then begins his reign of terror as the MHA story progresses, starting with the USJ attack, followed by the Forest training arc, the teaming up with the Hasakai, and the Liberation Army. If you've read one of the more recent parts of the manga though, you know about the major power increase he goes through. And God is he broken. He practically goes on a major killing spree. His body is only 75% complete though, and he is trying to still resist All For One so he can have full control of his own actions. What really stuck out to me though was Deku's comment on how he wanted to help Tomura. When Deku was in the hospital, he had a conversation with the vestiges of One For All, and he mentioned he wanted to save that little boy that was crying. That part got to me. It makes me feel like Tenko is in there somewhere. I hope as the series goes on, Deku will be able to save him and show him the love his grandma has for him. Well, those are my top 5 villains from My Hero Academia. What'd you guys think? Was your list similar to mine? Share with me your favorite villains down below. I really hope we do get to know more about Hero Killer Stain though. He has made a recent appearance after escaping Tartarus, so we will see where that goes. I should also say, I'm writing this as of chapter 315 in the manga, so if anything happens with Stain by the time this video goes up, don't yell at me too much. Before the video closes out, I just want to thank you so much for your support during this month of July. I'm uploading every day, and with all the different anime I'm covering, I know there's a little bit for everyone. Also, if you want a little more Mystic Sage, head on over to TikTok and check us out over there for more fun, bite-sized anime videos. I've also got an Amazon store where I sell tons of Pokemon and anime merch too, so check it out. For real this time though, thanks again for watching. I'm Mystic Sage, and I'll see you tomorrow with more amazing anime content.